The fight world has always been a theater of extremes, where pride, legacy, and money intertwine until you can't tell which is driving the story anymore. And few matchups embody that tension like this one. Gervonta "Tank" Davis versus Jake Paul. One is a product of the streets of Baltimore, molded through years of discipline and danger. The other, a product of the digital age, born in the spotlight of viral fame. Their collision isn't just about fists, it's about two different worlds of boxing meeting head-on. Inside Gervonta Davis's camp, the energy feels heavier than ever. There's no music playing, no hype needed, just the sound of leather smacking against pads and lungs gasping for air. Davis trains like a man with something to prove, even if he swears he doesn't owe anyone proof of anything. "I ain't gotta prove nothing to nobody else," he says, his voice low but defiant. "You always gotta do something over and over again till you done. There's always going to be somebody next." It's a quiet philosophy, spoken like someone who's spent his whole life fighting not just opponents, but expectations. He's in the gym before sunrise, grinding through a regimen that punishes every part of his body. Strength, timing, endurance. Every drill is a reminder that success doesn't come from talent alone. It comes from obsession. His coaches bark orders, adjusting footwork, monitoring angles, demanding perfection in every jab. The air smells of sweat and willpower. "Boom on that last break," his trainer yells. "I got him." Davis nods, tightening his stance, repeating the motion again. The repetition is maddening, but it's how champions are built. For Tank, every movement is designed to sharpen the same power that's dropped 31 men before Jake Paul ever touched a ring. Across the country, Jake Paul is deep in his own camp, surrounded by a different kind of intensity. The cameras are always rolling, but this time the energy feels serious. This isn't a show. It's preparation. Jake knows what he's walking into, a fight with one of the most explosive punchers of the modern era, and he's treating it like the toughest test of his life. He's brought in Shakur Stevenson, Raymond Ford, Montana Love, names that carry real weight in boxing. These aren't social media sparring partners. These are technicians, men who've spent decades refining their craft. Paul spends hours in the ring, drilling reaction time, adjusting to the speed of a real southpaw. The sessions are grueling. Shakur forces him to think faster, to move sharper, to rely on timing instead of brute force. "This boxing at its finest," someone says ringside. "Everything on the line." Jake doesn't argue. He's not trying to act like he belongs anymore. He's trying to earn it. Meanwhile, Gervonta's trainer, Calvin Ford, watches Tank move with pride and precision. He's seen this kid grow from a scrappy Baltimore teenager into one of the sport's brightest stars. "The success seen on fight night doesn't happen by accident," Ford says. "It comes from the hours you don't see, the discipline, the sacrifice." He talks about Tank like a father remembering every scar along the way, from the early days of hunger and hardship to the bright lights of pay-per-view. Ford knows the world only sees the knockout, but never the pain behind it. And pain, both physical and emotional, is what Tank has mastered. His conditioning drills are brutal. The focus is on balance, posture, and durability, because Tank knows how much punishment a body can take before it breaks. His core workouts look like torture sessions, designed to keep him standing when others would crumble. "You can't fake toughness," he says between breaths. "You build it." Yet beyond the sweat and repetition, something deeper lingers in the air. The fight with Jake Paul isn't just a contest, it's a statement. It's a reflection of where boxing stands in 2025, caught between heritage and spectacle. Veteran trainers like Abel Sanchez understand that. "As a fight fan, I don't like it," Sanchez admits. "But as a coach, I get it. Most fighters give this sport their whole lives and walk away broke. This fight changes that." He's not wrong. The payday is massive, 5, maybe 6 times what Davis would make against another ranked opponent. In an age where the line between competition and entertainment blurs more every year, who can really blame a fighter for cashing in? But that logic doesn't quiet the critics. Some call it a circus. Some call it genius. Most agree it's boxing's new reality. Chris Algieri, a fighter-turned-commentator, sees the bigger picture. "Boxing isn't just about skill anymore," he says. "It's about who can fill arenas, who can make people watch." And few do that better than Tank Davis and Jake Paul. Both are modern stars, creations of hype, but also of hard work. "The face of boxing now is about who sells," Algieri adds. Tank has that. Jake has that. When they fight, it's going to feel big, like a movie. But not everyone buys the script. Carl Fruck and Paulie Malignaggi have voiced their doubts, questioning how real the playing field will be. Jake, they say, has made a habit of fighting smaller men under his terms, bigger gloves, heavier weights, custom rules that tilt the balance. He stacks the deck, Malignaggi says. Doesn't mean it's fake, but it's always in his favor. Still, both men admit something uncomfortable. If Davis gets close enough to land clean, the script flips instantly. Tank's boxing IQ is too high, Fruck admits. If it turns into a real fight, Jake's in trouble. Even Shakur Stevenson, who's helped Jake in training, can't see the upset happening. I think Tank outboxes him easy, he says. Probably by decision, though. Jake's too big to just fall. But it's levels. Tank's been boxing his whole life. The respect in his tone is clear. It's not about dismissing Jake, it's about recognizing what true craft looks like. Jake's good for where he's at, Shakur continues. But Tank's on another planet. The size difference remains the story everyone keeps returning to. Jake Paul walks around at over 200 pounds. Gervonta Davis barely 135. Even at the agreed 195-pound limit, the gap is enormous. The gloves are heavier, the rounds are longer, and though it's technically an exhibition, the dangers are real. The venue, now set in Miami after Georgia's commission refused sanction, only adds to the sense of spectacle. It's not just a fight anymore, it's an event. A show that will flood social media feeds and command millions of pay-per-view screens. Some in the boxing community applaud it. It brings new eyes, they say. It grows the sport. Others see it as a distraction, a detour from the fights that matter. Davis versus Stevenson, Lopez, or Haney. Trainer Robert Garcia sums it up best. I get why he's doing it. The money's life-changing. But I wish he did it later, after giving us the fights we wanted. Mayweather did exhibitions after he beat everyone. Tank still has more to prove. It's a fair critique, but in the cold reality of modern boxing, legacy often bows to the numbers on a check. Then there's Bernie the boxer, the old-school fan whose words echo the frustration of purists. I don't care how much he's getting paid, he rants. He already rich. I want fights that mean something. I want competition, not a circus. His passion burns like a reminder of what boxing used to be, when pride and challenge mattered more than clicks and cash. But Bernie's voice, though loud, feels like a whisper in the new era. Because the truth is, the world will tune in. They'll watch, they'll argue, they'll meme. And no matter how the fight ends, both men will walk away wealthier than ever. Still, inside Tank's camp, the mood isn't light. The team doesn't see this as a show. They see it as a mission. They remember the kid from Baltimore who fought his way through poverty, who learned to survive long before the cameras found him. For Davis, fighting Jake Paul isn't about proving worth. It's about reminding the world that boxing still belongs to the fighters. Not the influencers, not the businessmen, the fighters. As the final days of camp approach, Davis sits quietly in the gym, hands wrapped, sweat dripping down his face. Around him, his trainers talk, the room humming with low energy before another sparring session. Someone mentions his old interviews, how he reflects on his past, on the lessons from his youth. You can see it when he talks about it, Ford says softly. That's when he's at peace. That's when you know he remembers where he came from. Jake Paul, on the other hand, is walking into unfamiliar territory. He's fought former MMA champions, faded boxers, and heavy hitters past their prime, but never someone like Tank. Never a fighter whose explosiveness comes from decades of discipline. The cameras will capture every moment, the bravado, the build-up, the entrances, but when the bell rings, all that will fade. Then it'll just be two men, two stories, one ring. Maybe this fight isn't about legitimacy anymore. Maybe it's about evolution, of boxing, of fame, of how the world consumes greatness. Tank Davis represents everything traditionalists hold sacred: craft, patience, pedigree. Jake Paul represents everything modern audiences crave: disruption, entertainment, chaos. Their meeting isn't an accident. It's a reflection of what the sport has become. When the lights dim in Miami and the crowd begins to roar, both men will step forward carrying different kinds of weight. For Tank, it's the weight of legacy. For Jake, it's the weight of credibility. And somewhere between those two, the truth of the fight will live. That's it for today's video. Who do you think walks out victorious? Tank Davis, the seasoned destroyer, or Jake Paul, the unpredictable disruptor? Is this fight good for boxing or just another spectacle in disguise? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories from the fight world where hype and heart collide.